What is up, guys? Welcome back to League of Legends Varsity League 2017 season, powered by Lenovo, Light the Sky. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of everything, after quite the convincing victory in Game 1 by UPD, we'll be introducing ourselves, of course. We are going to be your casters for today, Arctic Andy Service Fam. With me is Atlas, and yeah, quite an interesting game that we have there. Still, I have high expectations of the Academy Game Changers. Still could go even, we'll just have to see.
Yeah, I think that was just one mistake that snowballed into something bigger for Academy. But until then, they were holding such a great defense. And even after that huge loss near the Baron Pit, where they got 4 deaths because they all clumped up in a choke point, even after that big mistake, they were able to survive long enough to give UPD a hard time getting through the defenses. And I think that means Academy can still put up a fight here, and that these two teams are still quite even in terms of power level.
But, you know, before we get into the drafting phase, let's go ahead and show our audience our player lineups for today's games. Of course, for Academy Game Changers, in the top lane, it's going to be Swar. In the jungle, Tio. In the mid lane, it's Import. For ADC, Buggy Van. And support is Sinigang with their coach, the legendary Les Spexronquillo.
As for UPD Oblation Esports, we've got Nona in the top lane, Veer in the jungle, Solace for the mid lane, Yotchan and Alto will be the duo bot laners with their coach, Red Mayhem Bartolome.
Oh, goes for my Mayhem now.
Seems like that is his name, and this is actually still a test for the coaches and how they're able to adapt their team to these circumstances, to the previous strats from the last game. And seems like UPD is still sticking to their guns here. Academy as well. Jarvan locked out, Ramos locked out, Malzahar locked out from Import. So really, it seems like they're still sticking to it, except they don't want to deal with a horn.
No surprise right there, but still, as these bans continue to roll out, Shen going to be final ban.
So it's really very similar bans from last game for UPD. They're going with a mindset, don't fix what's not broken. As for Academy, the really only mix-up here is the Ornn is now the lock-in for the ban. Let's check out their first picks on the game. UPD now on blue side, so they have a little bit more freedom in terms of what they want to prioritize.
So waiting for that first hit coming in from UPD. Looks like it may potentially be the Maokai. Of course, I'm wondering where this Maokai will be sent from, because we did see Hyo in the jungle earlier running this Maokai. So
I'm not quite sure if Maokai is a big champion for Veer. It could be that it's the Maokai for Nona as a substitute for Ornn, but it's also possible that Veer has been practicing with the Twisted Treant for quite some time. For Academy, if they lock in this Gangplank, it's going to be quite the pick here. It seems like they will lock that in along with Import's Galio once again. UPD locking in the Lissandra and the Elite, so it seems like the top lane Maokai will be the thing for UPD, while Veer still goes for his Elise. As for Academy, Alistar pick it up by Sinigang here. This is a lot of engage, lots of tankiness as well. As for the rest of the bans, Rengar locked away from Hyo. Academy does not want to deal with a previous bot lane. UPD, that is the Brahma and the Zaya locked away completely, while UPD still has respect for Buggy Van's misfortune.
You know, I'm loving this Alistar pick coming in from the Academy Changers, especially with this preseason. We've been seeing a lot of these melee tanky champions in the support lane, slowly making a comeback. Alistar, one of my personal favorites, as one of them, and looks like we'll be seeing it from Academy. Meanwhile, Buggy Van looks like we'll be going for the Tristana. He was, I gotta say, in all fairness to him, regardless of Academy's loss earlier, it was a pretty good demonstration of what his skills are mechanically as an AD carry. But
being able to just jump around and get those resets when he can is definitely a point towards positioning. It seems like Buggy Van did not put himself into a dangerous spot because of how he rocket jumps. But in that sense here, it's still going to be quite a difficult task. But for Academy, they have lots of engage and tankiness. They have Paranoia. Combo that with a hero's entrance or into headbutt pulverize. That is quite the combo from Academy, and the damage from Buggy Van and Swar into the late game will be absolutely destructive. As for UPD, they have still a very well-rounded lineup here, but instead of the tanky support here, they have the Nami, who is a caster support, an Enchanter support here, so definitely a little bit of a change of pace on the bot side.
Indeed, and if anything, looking at both compositions now that they have been locked in, Game Changes going to be going for this Nocturne, so especially with this Nocturne, and just considering the general composition that they have with this Dahlia, with this Alistar, I'm expecting a lot more proactivity coming in from the Game Changers. Meanwhile, like you mentioned before, UPD, I'm very much kind of somewhat similar to the groove of what we've seen from earlier. It's just that less mobility, of course.
Less tankiness overall,
Yeah.
because that is, instead of the Braum, it will be the Nami, but they still have tons of CC, a lot of disengage. They have so much disengage, actually, and counter-engage as well. The tidal wave, combine it with the chains of corruption, it's just so much CC. And if they start running, if iAcademy starts turning tail and runs away, the grasping, the nature's grasp will be there to just chase them down, and the CC come from Solace will be quite effective. So this is two very formidable compositions that both of these teams have drafted, but I'm really liking iAcademy's just all in here with the knockups, with the damage, with the long-range ultimates as well. It seems so much global pressure.
Oh yeah, definitely. With this global pressure, it's a change of pace in a way from how they played out game 1, and I'm interested in seeing whether or not they can execute in a way, because
yeah, that's gonna be the biggest obstacle. So really, I'm just imagining level 6 spikes for this team here. Imagine as soon as Sinigang goes in with the Headbutt Pulverize, Hio goes in with a Paranoia into the hero's entrance, and then just to make things worse for UPD, it's going to be the Cannon Barrage from Swar from across the map. So that's 5 members pressuring this bot lane. It seems like Sinigang is going for that as well with Ignite, just a lot of aggressiveness in the bot side, while UPD still sticking to their guns, double teleport, same with Import as well, and with a pretty solid bot lane as well.
Indeed. And with UPD Liman, at the end of the day, what I'm really expecting them to go for, especially with the composition that iAcademy Game Changers has, is potentially a little bit more heavier on the vision, just so that they don't find themselves in a position where, like I mentioned, iAcademy, it's all about pulling the trigger. And unless UPD Liman allows iAcademy to catch them off guard, especially if there's one thing that UPD Liman does not want to do, it's get caught off in a group state wherein they just get the full onslaught of CC from iAcademy.
But also, the deep vision from Game Changers, if they're able to pull it off, means that Hio has more freedom with his targets.
Right.
He can go for the backline, he can go for someone rolling around alone in the jungle, and Import can follow up. Swar can also follow up. So it's all just lots of power from iAcademy. And Ablation Esports needs to counteract that with their disengage, with their counter-engage. And that's really how it all comes together for both of these teams. That is their conditions for winning a fight.
So there we have it. But nonetheless, I'm definitely expecting, I mean, it's not just patronizing iAcademy Game Changers, of course, but based on what I've seen of their previous games, if anything, I feel that they'd be much more comfortable with this type of composition, just because if you're going to look at the nature of their vision in the previous game, we've seen a lot more offensive vision, as opposed to, like I mentioned, there was this point of contest wherein Veer was going for Rift Herald, but they didn't have any form of vision towards the Riverside. Even with Objective Life Herald still up at the time. So, but then again, like I mentioned, given this composition, I feel like it's much more complementary to how they go about their vision game.
Perhaps this is their comfort zone for this game here. Perhaps they're going to where they feel most comfortable with, and I feel like this composition can be quite the force to be reckoned with if UPD is not able to shut it down early.
But I don't know about you guys, with all the discussion that we've had between me and Atlas, let us know from wherever you're watching, Facebook Live, or of course at gaming.youtube.com/PHGarena/live, as to who you guys are rooting for with all the compositions, and who do you think has the edge here. Let us know, is it UPD Liman, Ablation Esports, or the iAcademy Game Changers? Feel free to let us know your thoughts, and we'll be checking them out and around.
So really, this is quite the interesting match, because they have the knowledge from the previous game, and they're bringing it with them to the second game. So both of these teams need to make a lot of adjustments with how they play and their mindset, because mindset really is what sets the stage for these high-level games. And it's really impressive how actually UPD with they only have three players. The 3 players, most of them don't have tournament experience, and the same goes for Game Changers. But the way that they kept their cool in the game seems to be means that they have a lot of preparation behind this.
Speaking of just keeping their cool, and like you mentioned, preparation, I think with all those factors into consideration, it's very telling as to just how amplified our collegiate esports scene is right now, and the LoL Varsity League has become a great platform for that. Again, I mean, as much as I don't want to compare, it's definitely a bit more refreshing to see this type of tempo in the games in comparison to what we've seen in the local collegiate league the previous days. But then again, that I wouldn't necessarily say it's just the calculation. It could also be deemed as just a general difference in how these teams go about their strategies. Somewhat similar to how in the international scene, when you think of regions like Korea, like China, like NA, like EU, all these regions have their different play styles. And I think the same way kind of goes for LCL and LVL. So
yeah, it's really quite a different change of pace, a breath of fresh air for a lot of our viewers out there. And really, this difference in terms of level of play, it just means that it can elevate the LCL as well.
Right.
It really sets the bar higher than most other collegiate teams. So it's quite interesting to see how this fares out. And this is only the second day of the LVL, and we're already getting really spicy, really compelling matches. And I'm really expecting to see more of that as the LVL goes on.
Definitely. And with just the start happening right here, the power rankings, I mean, it's quite hard. I mean,
yeah,
you could base it on
definitely.
history, but then again, there have been teams that have gone through changes. If anything, if there's one team that I do have high expectations of because of their history, it could potentially be TUP just because they have a lot. I mean, they have a few changes. Yeah, familiar names. And even with the changes, the familiar names that did stay were the key players on their roster. So at least that's one of the teams. But for the other teams, it's still a bit shaky. We're still going to have to see how it transpires in the next few days.
There's still a lot of blurred lines in terms of how good they are and how they're able to put out their potential. If they can reach that max potential, I think every single one of these teams in the LVL can really be a contender with like the higher teams in the PGS. Like the bottom half of the PGS maybe. But really, it's really interesting to see how the power levels develop as the league goes on.
Speaking of PGS, by the way, coincidentally, along with LVL, today is actually the day wherein the teams that made top 4 for Piltovers play their regional games. So shout out to all the players as well that are competing. And yeah, I mean, I brought that up because LVL, like I mentioned, a totally different platform. And not just a platform to showcase collegiate talent, but it's also for semi-pro and pro teams to potentially scout out new blood that could transition into the Garena Pro Gaming Series. So we'll just have to say, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we see a handful of our players in the LVL transition to PGS because there's a lot of potential, I gotta say.
Let's look once again at the compositions of both of these teams. Top lane is quite an interesting matchup, the Maokai versus the Gangplank. The jungler, I think the pick by Hio is most influenced by Import's pickup as well as Schwartz, because that's so much global pressure that they can apply. But of course, let's get into the game here. The very first match we have today, and this is the second game. UPD's leading 1 point right now. Let's see if actually iAcademy is able to pull back and counter attack with their punches, because this is Oblation Esports from University of the Philippines Diliman versus iAcademy Game Changers. Second game. We're seeing how this plays out.
Koya Buggy Van, I think my mister from another mister forgot to buy items.
Oh dear. his team should probably ping him that. But he has a lot of time. He did notice it in time. But of course, for this one, it's still very safe starts from both of these teams. They don't want to overreach. They don't want to invade. Not even going for any deep vision with Ghost Poro cheekiness. However, it seems like now they will actually be starting on opposite sides of the map, with Hio starting around top side, with Veer starting on his red as well. So this is really opposite priorities in terms of the lanes that they want to go. That is the Cowbell Alistar.
Yeah. I love how that skin, there's a running thing in semi-pro wherein it's just a skin when you're running Alistar. If you want to trigger an opponent, just play that bell in lane and just
tilt them.
Yeah, exactly.
Tonk, tonk, tonk. But of course, now that the camera has shifted away from the Alistar, thankfully, we can take a look at how these junglers are actually pathing. We did say that they're starting on opposite sides of the map. They are going straight for the others, for the other buff on their rotation. So be very quick to pressure if they can.
If there's one thing I gotta bring up though, it's the interesting innovation coming in here from Swar, actually going for a Spell Thief's Edge as his first item, along with the refillable potion. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely...
It's an interesting pickup, actually, because Spell Thieves, when it does go off cooldown, and you can get the passive to proc. It could give you a lot of gold. I have heard in solo queue how some Evelyn players pick up Frostfang, but of course that is a jungler who doesn't interact with champions a lot, so I'm not sure how it works out with the Gangplank. It will put him at a little bit of disadvantage.
Oh, but Veer, they're going to try to go for something onto Swar, but Swar manages to flash out into safety. No bloodshed just yet, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, but that really is the cost of that strange Spell Thief's Edge Kleptomance. Oh, that is a lot of trouble for Swar if he goes down.
Oh, Cocoon is going to miss, though. Veer does ultimately get the kill. First blood going to UPD.
Electrocute really finishing off that kill against Swar, and that's what I was talking about. The cost of starting this very strange Spell Thief's Edge means that you don't have a lot of combat stats. You don't have a lot of mana as well compared to a Mana Crystal, a Sapphire Crystal start, or any sort of damage from, say, or survivability from a shield or blade start. So let's see if the Spell Thieves actually pays off for him.
Wow, look at the potions going in onto Swar as courtesy of this route. I haven't seen some of these potions in so long. They're back from the grave. But yeah, maybe this is a good counterbalance to going Spell Thief's Edge start. At least you do have those potions kind of popping up in your inventory. But looks like we may be seeing something again. Veer managing to catch Yo. We'll get a little bit of a hokey pokey, but still nothing substantial for the meantime.
I think Veer in this matchup again with Nona versus Swar with the Gangplank versus the Maokai, I think he knows that he's supposed to pressure this lane constantly because he does not want Swar to get ahead at any point in the game, because if Swar can get going on that Gangplank, it's very difficult to stop. But here, he is at a moment of vulnerability, having that Spell Thief's Edge, having the Kleptomancy as well, but it seems like that does leave bot lane open.
Action happening though. Yochan going to try to go for Buggy. Van does get the kill though. 1 for 1. I do say though, there is a lot more value of getting an 80 carry down, so I'd say that's definitely a win on UPD.
That is quite the unfortunate side effect of that fight there. Buggy Van falls, loses a little bit of CS in that wave while Yochan can still stay. But so far, Swar building up that potions, has the Mana Crystal now, so definitely a lot of mana to pull from when he wants to go for those trades.
I'm actually interested in seeing the gold build up for this Gangplank here, because I mean, by the CS numbers, it's very clear that Swar is way behind Nona here, 35 to 13, but looks like we might be seeing more action. That's going to be the Cocoon connecting onto Import, forced to flash away under turret, and that would be another Summoner spell down, taken away from Import.
That's a successful gank right there. Alto as well, roaming around, and seeing as Yochan was recalling anyway, that was pretty good timing for Alto to roam around with his jungler right there. And I think at this point, Swar is really behind, and I don't think the bonus damage from Spell Thieves, from Kleptomancy, as well as just generally his parlay, I don't think it's enough to make up for that huge deficit that he has developed right now. But he's still pushing Nona onto his turret, and Nona doesn't really want to overreach because the passive from Gangplank as well as the barrels still deal substantial amounts of damage.
Right, and at the end of the day, we'll just have to see. I mean, I'm all for innovation. Like, I've always been very vocal, regardless of our cast, whether it be LPL, LVL, PGS, that I'm all about creativity with picks or with item builds. But then again, sometimes with these builds, it could go either way. Yeah, it could backfire, and hopefully that's not a case for iAcademy, especially now that they're 0-1 against UPD.
Yeah.
If anything, this is the moment where they need to pull through, just so that they could make sure that they're on even terrain with the rest of the teams.
The thing is, though, because of his Kleptomancy, having that potion as well, and just the general sustain that Gangplank has, Swar is surviving in lane. He has a little bit of breathing room because Veer transitioned to other lanes. He really has to clear his bot side jungle as well. So right now, a little bit of breathing room for Swar. Have that deficit be made up for by the Kleptomancy, slowly but surely.
UPD just pushing out this lane onto iAcademy, but then again, they do have the luxury of doing so until such time Hyo hits level 6, where Nocturne is a little bit more of a threat with that element of surprise. But pre-level 6, it's a little bit of smoother sailing in my opinion, especially when you're a Nocturne. You want to try to hit level 6 as much as possible, just so that you can make sure that your ganks are much more potent.
So they have to iAcademy needs to get Hyo to level 6, and UPD, they have to know when Hyo reaches level 6, and I think Veer could possibly have an idea depending on how many camps Hyo might have left.
All about the calculations here, but still. Veer, though, a little
trying
bit
to
on
go
the
for
offensive side.
Sinigang is also under threat here if he doesn't stay away, but of course with the risk involved, especially with the hero's entrance available, I think Veer just has to back off from that and clear his own blue buff side.
Yeah, lesson learned from earlier, I think.
Definitely.
But at least the communication
Nona
was there. But a little bit of an engage. Nona, take note though, very low on mana. We'll have to back away for the meantime. But yeah, as we were saying though, at least...
Oh dear, that was a lot of damage though.
Yeah, oh man, that will kind of force Warb to go back for a recall. And again, this is kind of what I'm worried about here. I'd love to see how the gold is actually translating with the Spell Thief's Edge, but I think just based on how heavy the numbers are, plus how these trades have been going back and forth, I wouldn't even say back and forth, it's pretty favorable to Nuna in my opinion.
This does
really
give
worried
him a
for
good
Swar.
back timer. The Phage and the Sheen both completed for Swar, so even with a 35 CS, 37 CS deficit on his side, he is able to build up enough gold to buy the Phage and the Sheen with only 35 CS. That is a little bit of gold buildup from the Kleptomancy, from the Spell Thieves, possibly.
We'll have to clear on... Well, then again, might be going for Trinity Force on his next deck, because if you're going to look at his item slots right now, it's already full up. So
yeah, he has to build at least 1.4 gold to have enough gold for the Trinity Force without having to buy the Stinger. And once he gets a Triforce, it's actually quite a huge power spike for Gangplank. That is the gold core item that he really, really wants. But here comes Veer pressuring a lot with Solace. They know what they want. They still want to take these turrets. And Swar is still losing these trades against Nona. But once he gets Triforce, it will be a different story.
Do take note though, Hyo lingering towards this mid to bot side. So if ever action does ensue, that will allow him a little bit of a faster recall. But let's just go ahead and see. Looks like Veer will be backing off from the mid lane for the meantime, as well as our bot lane here. So just pretty chill, Like, I like that call coming from Bloom and just not overextending the boundaries, especially with that Nocturne just lingering towards the side where they could potentially get ganked. It's much
just
more
safely CSing around Yachan, making sure that the wave is pushing towards them, but not too far that they're trapped under turret and open for a dive.
Man, this is something I feel that a lot of our audience could learn from right now. Just the general control of waves coming in, when to and when not to push. And that kind of line wherein if you want your wave pushing to okay, Infernal Drake though.
Gutsy move if he starts that, but it seems like he is signaled to go away since Hyo is right around the corner. Don't want to get caught with Paranoia, with the fear, but seems like the Rift Scuttler will be their constellation for now, but Paranoia.
There we go. Hyo gonna go in onto the members though. Alto canceling him out with a tidal wave, but looks like the rest of UPD gonna go in for the fight. Solace goes straight in for Hyo. Hyo goes down. Looks like Buggy Van will be the next casualty here. Double kill right now for Solace. Sinigang might as well be very going down. Solace and Veer continuing the chase though, gets the knock away, but that won't matter as Yochan still secures the kill in a 3-0 in favor of UPD Liman.
Oh man, that is just when he went for the Paranoia right there, I think they should have just cut their losses. As soon as they were out of combat, as soon as Yochan burnt both of his summer spells, they should have backed off.
Man, and at the end of the day, I was wondering where was Import in all of that. A little bit too late for the fight, but
yep,
I mean not even too late because he didn't even go.
He didn't RSVP for that one. But yeah, that is quite a big loss for iAcademy there, and I think I am of the opinion that they should have absolutely backed off as soon as Yochan flashed and healed away, because that's already resources. Let's look at how that fight went down. Paranoia, and then flash and heal as well. Here at that point, they should have backed off immediately. Even if Hyo were to die because he got bubbled, they should have just ran away. At this point, it's way too late, and Sinigang actually falls down. That's a 0 for 3. That was already a bad call because they knew that they should have known that the mid laner of UPD as well as the jungler Veer and Solace were right around the corner. So there was absolutely no reason for them to jump in there like that. And Import as well was not present whatsoever in that fight. So if there was a miscommunication in that call to engage, then that was definitely a big mistake on my part.
A little bit of a different iAcademy that we're seeing here from game one. A few mistakes being thrown out here and there, but then again, at least it's not a substantially huge of a difference just yet. But I will say though that UPD did a great start for them. 5-1.
However, I will say that Even though the gold total is not that big in terms of difference, it's like 3,400. The fact is that's completely concentrated around Solace and Yochan, and this gives them so much power to pressure these lanes into a 1-3-1 configuration. Already at 13 minutes, Solace is pressuring this bot side. Swar has not really reached a huge power spike just yet, but the Triforce is helping a lot, but I think now he's in trouble.
Oh no, Nona gonna go in. Veer gonna continue to chase, but that Nocturne, where is it going? Okay, it's happening towards mid lane. Yochan taking quite a bit though. Sinigang ultimately getting the kill. It's gonna be a 1-for-1 across the board though.
They have to be very careful. Import has to use his teleport to the top side and bring out Solace from that lane, and this could be an opportunity for iAcademy to get a little bit of resources from this gold mine of a turret. But right now, Buggyvan does not have his power spike ready, so he's dealing not as much damage as he would like against his turret. And I think this might be huge trouble if they don't disengage properly. Sinigang gets a good headbutt.
Indeed, looks like everything is safe and sound for the meantime. Still, things are looking good thus far for UPD Demand 3K gold up, but then again, we'll just have to see if iAcademy could get back.
Oh man, that is a very low turret. That is juicy, and Solace wants a piece of that.
Oh man, this may be very well an easy take for UPD Demand. Another turret down.
You have to look at top lane as well. How low is that turret that Swar was defending? Ooh. Just low enough that for this wave, Solace and Nona are able to take down 2 turrets on those sides of the map. And that is a 5k gold lead in favor of UPD. And they're going to try and reach even more with this Rift Herald.
I gotta say, from what I've been seeing from UPD Demand, I like how fluid their movement has been across this map thus far. Plus the fact that there's a very clear game plan as far as what objectives they transition to.
And they don't go too far into those kills. Even if they see a prime opportunity, they go back to what their win conditions are. We need to take down the turrets, control the map, and after that, we have a lot of freedom in how we can move. And that's really how you want to do if you have Lissandra, Varus, and the Elise. And just have that vision and control over the map so that iAcademy doesn't have the freedom to move around and you can just pick someone off or get a good team fight out.
I gotta say though, for Swar, looking at the gold differences right here, at least him going for Spell Thief's Edge didn't lead that much to waste. If anything, it's actually surprising that he's still gold higher in comparison to Import despite the heavy CS difference. So I guess in the end it did work for him.
Probably the Kleptomancy as well as the Spell Thieves.
Combination.
Combination. Still would have appreciated to not have died for Academy, because that means he reaches his power spike much quicker and he become very relevant even faster.
Yeah, UPD Demand, this is what I like about UPD Demand. Even when they were in the LCL, they slowly build up on Gold League na yung tipo hindi siya halata kasi there's not really much action happening. But once it reaches the later parts of the game, that's when you start realizing how that build-up just leads to a sudden monumental clash that dictates everything into UPD Demand's favor.
Once they take the outer layer of the first-tier turrets, they can have a lot of freedom of movement around the map. That means iAcademy needs to be more wary with their wards. They need to be more wary with their movements and rotations. And that means UPD, you said, just slowly building up that gold lead from the turrets. It's also slowly building up their territory from the map that they control because they have more turrets and less danger in terms of moving around.
Still, though, looks like iAcademy trying to establish some defensive vision to counter most of the control that UPD Demand has by virtue of objectives taken right now. 3-for-0 turrets. That's still pretty big for UPD Demand. And if anything, this is a scenario wherein, if you're going to look at iAcademy's composition, especially with the Nocturne,
Fear might be looking to go for this top side. If he gets a kill on Swar, even Solace is going around, but it seems like they might just try and go for a push here. Summons the Rift Herald. Swar has to turn tail and run. How is the rest of iAcademy going to respond to this?
That's a pretty decent wave pushing as well.
Oh dear. That is going to be 4 people onto Nona, and I think he's going to fall down. I think very inefficient use of the Rift Herald, not taking into account where the rest of iAcademy is.
Indeed, and with all said and done, man, that was crazy though.
That was very strange from UPD. Might be a little bit of miscommunication in terms of when to summon the Rift Herald, but now they absolutely wasted it. They get some damage on the second tier, but they should have taken into account who could have responded to that push. And the rest of UPD was not in a position to pressure other lanes to actually make use of that Rift Herald pressure.
Meanwhile, Yochan and Alter making their way towards this ball, clearing out a wave, exerting a little bit more of pressure for iAcademy to deal with, just to balance things out a bit. But yeah, that was somewhat unnecessary for UPD.
I think it was way too early to use that Rift Herald.
Exactly.
I think they should have timed it with Yochan's push in the bot side as well as Drake spawning in the bot side.
I think it was ultimately a scenario where they thought they were going to source. So if you notice, like Cocoon out and then Nuna just using his ultimate as well. So yeah, that was pretty awkward overall.
They do get Mountain Drake, the Drake in the end, however, and gets some pressure, but still a huge loss in terms of losing resources.
You know, that was pretty much a Rift Herald. I mean, they had the momentum going for them. They didn't really need to push the boundaries too much, and they definitely paid for it there. Doesn't necessarily deter them, but it's
more of
could have been
Cyan.
better.
It's,
yeah, there you go.
It's less of how they lose, and it's more about what they could have gotten more.
Exactly.
But here it seems like they recovered quickly from that. iAcademy moving around as well to try and make up for the deficit. They are slowly catching up to UPD in terms of goal, but they still have to be very wary that they don't have complete control over their territory.
I think with what happened towards the top side, it's somewhat of a lesson for UPD that I would like to see them adapt to. If you're going to look at the composition that iAcademy has, like you mentioned earlier before this game started, they have a lot of semi-globals working for them. They have the Galio, they have the Nocturne, they have the Ultimate coming in from the Gangplank, wherein iAcademy could easily turn these fights into a numbers advantage in their favor, wherein UPD least expects it. So I think it ultimately comes down to taking consideration of these ultimates from iAcademy, and as well as their cooldown.
They're gonna go for something.
Looks like Yo gonna go in really heavy onto Alter, trying to deal as much as he can, but still, Solus getting the kill onto Buggy. Then those are two members of iAcademy that are down right now, and it looks like UPD isn't done just yet. Import trying to zone out the rest of the members as Sinigang tries to go for the retreat, but no, that'll be double kill for Yochan. Only one member of iAcademy will survive. Tanky Sinigang looks like he will survive in a 4-0 in favor of Ablation Esports.
And I don't think even if Swar teleported, he wouldn't have been impactful. It is Gangplank after all. Doesn't have a lot of teleport pressure, but here I think the biggest mistake was they don't have vision. He all went for something where they didn't have vision, so when he went in, and once again Yochan had flash, so after that I think they should have pulled away, but because of that it just means that once again Yochan survives without even taking a lot of damage, and Hio just goes into nothing. And that was 5 members of the team for UPD, while it was only 4 members for iAcademy.
3 right now. This is what I've been talking about right here. UPD is just going to creep on you in the most unexpected ways, but then again, I don't necessarily 100% owe it to UPD being proactive in that case. I think it was just iAcademy making a substantial mistake through Hio just going full on into his demise.
And it's the same thing. They didn't take into account how many members UPD had around that area. So it seems like now the apple of the eye of both of these teams will be the Baron Asher. Seems like this is quite tanky. This is a mistake if Veer still goes for it without Yochan and the rest, but this could be an opportunity. Nona going in with the Righteous Glory.
Looks like UPD Liman gonna try to seek something there, but nope, no fight happening whatsoever. Just gonna keep their chill for the meantime. It will be just more of establishing control over this Baron.
And they did really get the claim of the land here, except for iAcademy taking the Rift Scuttler, but there's still a lot of pressure here in terms around the Baron for UPD. They have to be very careful with how they dance around this. Is the cat going for the fish? It's actually other team, so it explodes. An exploding cat. Okay, so now it's just going to be a little bit of a chill and reset while iAcademy tries to get their bearings and try and dance around Baron once again.
If you're going to look at things happening on the map right now, if there's one team that doesn't want to give up Baron, it's definitely iAcademy in my opinion, just because that they don't have that same heavy defense that they did in Game 1. And like you mentioned, when you have this Nocturne, when you think of a Nocturne, you think of him going for these engages, catching off UPD Liman off guard, but when you're kind of behind as I Academy, that's not really a scenario you could take advantage of. And I think that might be the detriment to I Academy right now if they continue to fall behind to UPD Diliman.
And look at that Demolisher on Nona means that this is quite a lot of damage. Quick Siege come from UPD, add on to that the Mountain Drake that they got, and this is just easy picking so far for UPD. While on the top lane, Solace has a big wave building up on that side with that turret. Second tier also very, very low. Solace right around the corner. He's going to try and look for something, maybe go for a Glacial Path into a Frozen Tomb maybe, but he has to clear the top lane wave so he can get the turret.
Oof. Still though, UPD Diliman slowly shoving out these
vision.
waves. I like the transition coming in here from Souls, pushing out the top lane. It looks like UPD Diliman going to go for this Baron.
They're going to pressure this, dancing for the Baron. I don't think I Academy is in a position to actually contest this. Their vision is minimal. That is just single ward, which will expire right now, and they don't have any vision around important parts of the map. And now all they can do really is try and defend around here. Oh, actually goes for the steal.
Oh man, but still at the cost of his life. Well played though by I Academy, denying the Baron from UP Diliman. Veer not able to get the smite in time.
He didn't even smite. Didn't even smite. But wow, that was surreal. That was strange.
Yeah, that was somewhat very anti to what happened there, but very well played
well
there
by their Hyo.
If anything, this could be the saving grace for I Academy in the sense that at least that Baron buff
they might be
will help
able to
them
get enough defenses using the Baron buff to push away these minion waves. But for now, UPD is still in the lead in terms of stats, in terms of itemization. After this Infernal Drake, they'll have even more damage to counteract I Academy's own engage. So this could be the trade-off here, because the Infernal Drake is more permanent of a bonus.
Oh man, UP Diliman, they had the momentum going for them. What happened? Like, big question mark right there. Looks like UP Diliman will try to, how do I even put it? Just kind of keep themselves consoled with getting an Infernal Drake. At least that is
That's a lot of damage.
Yeah.
However, damage won't help them if they can't push into without the buff here with the Baron buff. But the thing is, they can still face off I Academy toe-to-toe. The Baron buff doesn't give any new tools in the fight. It just gives a little bit of bonus stats. But really, if I Academy still goes for a foolish dive onto Yochan, he has heal, he has flash, then it's going to be a difficult fight for them to win.
Though I Academy getting the push in. Rather, not even push in, rather push out, was shoving out the waves.
They're trying to push away the waves that UPD is building up.
Oh, and this is good for them. Inhibitor has spawned for I Academy. That alleviates a lot of the pressure that they are concurring from these waves, pushing in from UP Diliman. And UP Diliman
is still going for these aggressive moves. 1, 1, and 3 configuration. This is still quite dangerous for UPD.
Ooh.
Everyone has teleport, so any fight that will happen here will have all 5 members eventually.
Very systematically patient, I'd say. But looks like Yo gonna go for a heavy dive right there. Hero's entrance not quite connecting onto anybody, but still Veer getting the kill onto Yo. This looks like a fight that's still going in UP Diliman's favor right now. A lot of frontlining members, but still not enough damage to get to the backline. Yochan now on a rampage. 3 members of I Academy still live, but still UP Diliman bit off more that they could chew. Buggy Van just jumping in and out, and that will be the ace for I Academy.
And finally, that is one fight that Hyo is able to start that finishes in favor of I Academy and an ace 5-for-2. And I think that was a very well-played fight coming from I Academy. UP Diliman was split. Yochan didn't have a lot of peel on his side, and that was just straight up got bodied by I Academy, and this gives them a little bit of an opportunity. The death timers aren't that long, but it is enough for them to take out these outer tier turrets, mid side and bot side, and that's still going to even out the gold quite a bit. 1.4k at 26 minutes isn't a lot, and the biggest clincher here is the 2 Infernal Drakes and the Mountain Drakes. But other than that, I Academy being able to get 3 turrets from that means that the gold has been equalized.
And you have to take note that if you're going to look at that fight, I've been mentioning how even without the hero's entrance connecting onto any of the members of UP Diliman, the fact that I Academy still won that fight, I think that's a worrying factor for UP Diliman at this point, because if fights like those break out and I mean, even without Ayakimari getting their full connects onto what CC they could exert in fights,
I
then
think it's most about how Swar and Buggy Van are beginning to scale up hard. This
Right.
is Gangplank and a Tristana, and those are two late-game Leviathans, and that you really don't want to face up against those in the late game. And I think another big factor in that UPD losing that fight is, once again, they were split. Earlier, it was more forgivable because Hyo doesn't have enough damage to make up for diving in like that, but now, because they were split, Yo-chan just falls down without any help from the rest of his team because they were too busy trying to take down Swar.
yeah, and this is pretty much like a timer for UPD Liman right now. The longer that they allow this game to go, the more they lose out on the advantages that they had through their extensive lead in the early to mid game. And if this ensues, this could be the turnaround, propelling Academy to force this into a 1-1 equal for the
They have
game.
to stick around Yoshi because right now he's their biggest source of DPS with the Ginsus, Runans, and a Phantom Dancer. They have to stick around him. They have to keep him alive. Veer has to transition to taking down targets that go for Yo-chan. And Solace as well needs to use his CC productively to try and help out Yo-chan because he's not going to kill Swar because now he has the bigger orange, he has the stopwatch as well as the Phantom Dancer, so that's a lot of survivability on his hands. They just need to keep Yo-chan alive so they can deal his damage.
Oh man, still UPD Liman. With all said and done though, definitely keeping up the pressure, but then
They're still
again,
going for it.
it's only a matter of sticking to the same game plan, which has been effective, I gotta say, regardless of what happened in the full 5v5.
They
but
just have to position themselves better when the fight actually starts. Because there, Hyo got a really good paranoia into transitioning of splitting up the rest of UPD. And when you're facing up against Nocturne, communication is key during the time of darkness that they have. Who's he going for? It's usually Yo-chan, but how do we respond to this? They have to be quick in how they do that. Where are you going? Where are you falling back to, Yo-chan? Those are the questions that they have to ask themselves. Where Academy, really, they just have to split apart UPD and continue what they did in that fight to take away a win from UPD.
Equal grounds for both sides right now, but do take note, with Baron buff down for Academy, this will be potentially
30 seconds on the next Baron. That will be the next turning point of this fight.
It's going to be an explosive fight, and what's worrying here is that UPD Liman Oblation Esports is in a position right now where Academy could easily
they
go
have
head-to-head with
control
them.
over this. They just have to keep Hyo from getting any sort of control or vision over that Baron fight, so they can, so he can't paranoid over there. So I think right now Bugyavan is saving his blue trinket, his Farseer ward, to put it down just to give Hyo a burst of vision where he can paranoid in it and possibly get another smite steal. It's a risky gambit to make, but when UPD has so much control over here, they have to send Swar to actually pressure that. This could be an opportunity for Academy to clear some vision around that Baron side.
Ooh, because Academy indeed establishing their own control over this riverside of the Baron, clearing out
That is what they're
vision.
doing right now.
Really good preemptive move there by Academy. KSPL still going to grant them a little bit more control. UPD Liman will have to reestablish control back for themselves. But then again, UPD Liman at the same time does have decent offensive vision as well.
Right now, this is just the vision dance around the Baron with this purple worm, the apple of their eye. They have to be very careful in how they go about this. One wrong step and they trip, and the rest of the dance falls apart.
Ooh, take note though, Nona is away from this fight so far. UPD Liman has to be a little bit more careful though. Even with the teleport up for this top laner, could spell the difference if Nuna isn't there in time. But looks like a fight is going to ensue. Neo goes straight in for Veer. Looks like the heal is going to be popped out from the UPD Liman. Yo is going to be going down, but Buggy Van, nobody's able to take account of him. He's just taking down everybody from UPD Liman one by one. Ace, will this be the Ace? Nona and Veer are trying to run for dear life. 4 members of Academy still very, very healthy, but that will go for Academy. Go straight for the inhibitor turret in a 2. Wait, not even a 2. That's actually a 1-4-3 in favor.
And once
of
again,
Academy.
with Hyo making a good paranoia play, he falls. He's basically their grenade. They throws him in, he deals some damage, and then he's gone. But because of that, because once again UPD was split, Fear fell down first. Solid was trying to go for a flank with his Frozen Tube, and immediately he gets bursted down. And look at that. Swar and Buggyvan free to do their damage because they're too busy taking down Hio.
Oh man, that was my biggest worry right there. Good call there coming in from IA Academy. Was able to capitalize on the fact that Luna was far away from that fight. That by the time that he actually got a teleport, it was a little bit too late.
He's caught up in terms of CS. He has 4,000 gold over Nona, and that just manifests in all of his items, all of his damage. Buggyvan as well has built up a rich cache of gold here that he can just continue dealing damage because of all the items he's built up. This is the point of power for Swar and Buggyvan, and UPD's having trouble surviving and weathering the storm against their constant barrage of bullets. And really, right now, it's Academy's game. This ball is in their hands because they have the ability to make these aggressive moves, while UPD has to constantly be careful of the paranoia. They have to defend Yotchan. They have to find a way to survive the storm.
Though, for iAcademy, looks like still vision being established here towards this Baron side. Are they going to go for it though?
I think they have to pull away from Cloud Drake. I think that's a mistake.
Oh, UPD Demando caught off guard though by iAcademy, suddenly making their way towards the Baron side. Are we going to be seeing a fight though? That is
don't have vision over this area. They don't have access to Blue Trinket right now. Why did they go for Cloud Drake?
Oh no, looks like things might happen though. Yo, gonna go straight for the backline of UPD Liman. But here comes also, could he initiate anything? Nona gets the kill onto Hio, but still Chaos isn't showing. Buggyvan is quite low. Shot down. Right now things are going quite well for UPD Liman thus far. Still all 5 members are up, converging onto the more tankier members of iAcademy. Sinigang goes down. Import might be the next casualty here. Nona goes straight in. Looks like UPD Liman smells blood, wants to chop down this Galio, and that will be 4 members of iAcademy down as UPD Liman goes for the Baron.
And this is only Swar. He can deal lots of damage with his barrels. Those powder kegs deal a substantial amount of damage. He has burned 2. He should still have 2 at this point, but not enough to actually contest his Baron. That went really badly for iAcademy, even though at the start it looked good.
That was crazy. UPD Limando back on their footing.
Yeah, we'll see if we have a replay of that, but for now, they're thirsty for an inhibitor here. Only Hio and Swar are alive. They have to be careful. Buggyvan is alive in 5 seconds. I think they have to pull away and not overstay.
Might want to try to go for a reset for the meantime.
They just have to go and reset.
But still, with all said and done, Baron buff now up for UPD Liman. This is pretty big for UPD Liman. It ultimately comes down to how they make good use of this. They could go back to their regular configurations of pushing out across all lanes and pressure iAcademy into forcing to configure how they respond to each lane pushing out to them, who to send where. But yeah, let's go ahead and see what ultimately transpires. This is going to be big.
I think what happened there with iAcademy is that their attention was split. Hio went immediately for Yotchan, but because he didn't have the same kind of follow-up from the previous team fights they won with Hio jumping in, that left enough time for Yotchan to survive and for the rest of the team to heal up, to have that regen, have their survivability. And once Hio falls down and Buggyvan no longer has a distraction, he quickly becomes a target of the rest of UPD.
So UPD Liman getting the shove in. Yodo getting caught out, not caught up, spotted rather, but still, it does ultimately UPD Liman just pushing out across lanes, except for top side though, take note. So it is more of this mid lane and bot lane, but I do like this configuration in the sense that at least, since they're much more near each other as opposed to across lanes, gives a much more faster response.
It gives them much more faster reaction time against the paranoia.
Looks like UPD Liman slowly making their way to this inhibitor though.
This inhibitor, paranoia is available.
Oh, looks like Yo gonna go for the dive on to Yotchan, but Yotchan able to walk away quite safely. But here comes the rest of the iAcademy. Gonna go in, also getting the kill onto Buggyvan. That's a key member down for iAcademy. Nuna take down Swar. Looks like the members of iAcademy going down one by one. Hio, the only surviving.
Oh man, that is UPD's game right there.
But still, indeed, this may potentially be the game. Inhibitor goes down. Those are heavy, heavy death timers coming in from iAcademy. I don't think Hio could defend at this point.
Not
there
at
goes
all.
Nexus turret number 1. There goes Nexus turret number 2. UPD converges onto the Nexus with their debut in the LVL. UPD Liman goes 2-0 against iAcademy Game Changers.
Wow. that was quite the game. That was well played from both I Academy and UP Diliman. At the start, UPD was dominating, but I Academy is able to pull back into the fight with a rubber band, and they just keep going for something. But then UPD is able to really find a solution to how much Hio is so much of a distraction that allows Buggy Van to free him. I think what happened in that last fight was, I think there Yo-chan used his flash smart. Instead of splashing as soon as the paranoia gets on him, he lets himself be feared, trusts in the healing of his teammates with the redemption, with the Tide Callers, the rest of Nami's kid. And then after that, he still has the flash if other people from I Academy go onto him. And because of that, he survives. The rest of I Academy wasn't able to follow up to Hio. It just falls apart from them.
But overall, I mean, if you're going to look at that game, I got to give my commendations to UP Diliman and both I Academy game changers.
Yeah,
very well played. But I felt like for UP Diliman, the fact that there was that first fumble with the Baron, I feel like it could have been much more of a shorter game, but because of that fumble, it prolonged it much more longer and actually gave I Academy.
Yeah, I feel like for this game, in terms of the supporting the lanes, Veer put out a lot of pressure, but when it came to the cocoon accuracy, I didn't see him hit a lot of crucial cocoons. And the smite was actually very big as well, so that could be the nerve for the first game of the league, but first match of the league rather. But in the end, they were able to pull it back. The important thing is they found a solution to the paranoia, because that was such a huge thing. It cut off their communication. It also cut off the rest of the team from Yo-chan, but there they found a solution.
But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, with all said and done, congratulations to UP Diliman. Like I mentioned, their debut in the LVL with a rookie, almost a full rookie roster, except for Veer on a 2-0. But we still have a lot more games ahead here at the Garena LOL Varsity League. When we come back, still a lot of games ahead. But before we go out, we'll be doing our farewells for the meantime. Not really farewell, but we'll be back in a bit. Arctic ID Service Fam, with me is Atlas. Once again, this is Garena LOL Varsity League 2017 season, powered by Lenovo. Light the Sky. We'll be right back. Looks like Hio gonna go in really heavy onto Alto, trying to deal as much as he can, but still, Solus getting the kill onto Buggy Van. Those are two members of My Academy that are down right now, and looks like UP Diliman isn't done just yet. Import trying to zone out the rest of the members as Sinigang tries to go for the retreat, but no, that'll be double kill for Yo-chan. Only one member of My Academy will survive. Tanky Sinigang looks like he will survive in a 4-0 in favor of Malaysian Esports.
And I don't think even if Sword
Hio gonna go for a heavy dive right there. Hero's entrance not quite connecting onto anybody, but still Veer getting the kill onto Yo. This looks like a fight that's still going in UP Diliman's favor right now. A lot of frontlining members, but still not enough damage to get to the backline. Yo-chan now on a rampage. 3 members of I Academy still live, but still UP Diliman bit off
Buggy
more than they
Van.
could chew. Buggy Van just jumping in and out, and that will be the ace for goes straight in for Veer. Looks like the heal is going to be popped out from members of UP Diliman. Yo is going to be going down, but Buggy Van, nobody's able to take account of him. He's just taking down everybody from UP Diliman one by one. Ace, will this be the ace? Nona and Veer are trying to run for dear life. 4 members of I Academy still very, for the backline of UP Diliman. But here comes also. Could he initiate anything? Nona gets the kill onto Hio, but still Chaos isn't showing. Buggy Man is quite low. Shot down. Right now things are going quite well for UP Diliman thus far. Still all 5 members are up, converging onto the more tankier members of I Academy. Sinigang goes down. Import might be the next casualty here. Nona goes straight in. Looks like UP Diliman smells blood. Wants to chop down this Galio, and that will be 4 members of My Academy down as UP Diliman goes for the barrels.
He just only swore he can deal lots of damage with his barrels. Those powder kegs deal a substantial amount of damage. He has burned 2. He should still have 2 at this point, but not enough to actually contest his Baron. That
for the dive on to Yo-chan, but Yo-chan able to walk away quite safely. But here comes the rest of the I Academy. Gonna go in, also getting the kill onto Buggy Van. That's a key member down for I Academy. Nuna take down Swar. Looks like the members of I Academy going down one by one. Hio, the only surviving.
Oh man, that is UPD's game right
but
there.
Still, indeed, this may potentially be the game inhibitor goes down. Those are heavy death timers coming in from I Academy. I don't think Hio could defend at this point.
Not
there
at
goes
all.
Nexus turret number 1. There goes Nexus turret number 2. UPD converges onto the Nexus with their debut in the LVL. UP Diliman goes 2-0 against I Academy Game Changers.
Not enough Garena shells to buy the latest League of Legends skin? On sale now? Get shells anytime, anywhere with your Globe or Touch mobile number. Go to gamer.com.ph and sign up with your mobile number and enter the verification code you will receive via SMS. Log in and choose the game and pin you want. Check out to purchase the pin with your load or through your postpaid account and receive the pin on your phone instantly. Never miss a sale on your favorite League of Legends skins and champions with Gamer.